Make a motion to go back into open session.
Second. Second by Dr. Robertson at 7:03. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And absent. It's 7:03. No action determined at closed session. The recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge of Allegiance led by Martin.
Ready to get.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Nancy here, Dr. Robinson, Ms. Cruz, and Jim Bender's absent. And Michaela Geddes, not present. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Sarah, second by?
Thanks.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have any comments from the public?
No, we don't.
Okay, so we go straight to our TA report.
Wow, it's my turn already.
Yep.
I'm opening up my phone because it doesn't recognize me with my mask on. Today I received back from Tim Salazar of Schools Legal the latest draft of the MOU we've been working on so long, so hard for the last, Mrs. Gaines, what has been, 8 weeks? Trying to get things put into place, and I am very pleased to say I think we're there.
Wow.
I haven't had a chance to read through it completely.
Oh.
I glanced at it. Give me a couple days. It's like 9-10 pages long. But I think we might finally have an MOU to lay out the groundwork in terms of our distance learning program and the expectations from the district and from the teachers about how we run the program during distance learning. One of the last hurdles we had was the district inserting a paragraph regarding the return of cohorts with special education, EL students, and other small groups of students. I think we need to have that as a completely separate MOU because there's a lot of variables there. And as soon as we bring students back on campus, we need to make sure everybody has a clear understanding of how that's going to work. So I appreciate the fact that that paragraph was taken out, and we will do that in a separate MOU. So we've got more work to do. And as soon as we can get together and start work on that, we can begin to move forward in that program. But I'm going to go through that over the next couple days and take a look at it. And with any luck, we'll have a tentative agreement in which the teachers can vote on it and the board can vote on it in your next meeting.
Oh, awesome.
So we are getting there, but it is a slow and difficult process. And the reason why I was opening up my phone is I thought it was very, very apropos today. Is as I'm working in between and teaching my classes, I got a text from my very closest friend growing up. He and I were born 10 days apart in a small town in Michigan. His parents were high school teachers in our small town, much like Roseman. My parents were high school teachers in that same small town, and he and I grew up together very close. He's a high school teacher in Michigan, and I'm a middle school teacher here in Roseman. And I just found it interesting. I hadn't talked to him in a couple of months, and I get a text from him this morning, and he's pulling his hair out, talking about how difficult everything has been during this whole instruction during the pandemic. In Michigan, he's teaching under the AV model. They have a modified schedule. He's got students in his class in small groups. teaching them twice a day. He's a high school teacher teaching social studies with 3 different classes, 3 different preps that he has to deal with. And his expression was just much like mine is, how hard we all are working to try to provide the very best education we can for our students. We've talked about it before, how hard this is on our students, how hard it is on our parents, and how difficult it is on our teachers, and how wonderful the support staff has been doing what it is we're trying to do. It's exhausting, it's miserable, and we're doing the best job that we can. And I appreciate what my students are doing. The responses I'm getting from my parents every day about some of the positive things and many of the questions and being able to respond to them. But as I spend 90 minutes every morning before my first class, just trying to communicate with my students, and all afternoon with students in my classes and my parents, just trying to communicate to them as to what we're trying to do. I just want everybody to know and understand the efforts everyone is making, and it's extreme. And at times it's overwhelming. At times I have teachers in tears. I get emails every day with the frustration about what's going on, but never doubt the efforts. Never doubt the efforts of the teachers, the parents, the students, and the support staff to try to make this all work as best we're gonna make it work. Between 2 of my Zoom meetings today, I have 3 of them every day for an hour. I need to see a chiropractor because literally my neck is out of place, and it's sore and painful every day from sitting at a computer. So I wandered outside my room in between Zoom meetings where I have about 10 minutes. And there's a few of our support staff. There was a couple of CSOs and a custodian outside, and they're doing campus beautification, which I think is a wonderful application of their time and efforts. Just trying to make sure they're doing everything they can for our district. And I'm yelling at them from about 30, 40 feet away, having a discussion. I'm complaining about my pain in my neck and everything that's going on and how difficult it is. And the question that one of them posed to me was, how when is this going to end? How are we going to deal with this? How can we fix this? And the only response I could give them was time. We just need time. Time every day to try to communicate and work with our students and parents. But more importantly, time for all of this to eventually begin to work itself out. It's not going to fix itself next week, next month, hopefully sometime soon, but it will improve. It will fix itself out, but we just need time. And the appreciation from our administration about all of the efforts being made and try to minimize the requirements and responsibilities and heaping on of more things that need to be done. We just need time. And with time is going to come a lot of healing, and our students will be fine. They're going to get through this, and next year, next semester, next year, they'll catch up and everything will be fine. But I just want everyone to understand all of the efforts being made. Mr. Gutierrez, you usually hear me every April or May at this time talking about how exhausted I am.
You're exhausted now.
I'm exhausted like I've never been before. I've in 28 years never ever worked this hard before, and that's what I hear from the teachers every single day. I have never put forth so much time and effort into my classes. I was on a call with my daughter this morning talking to her about my stress, and she's going, "Why are you working at 9:30 at night?" Because I had things I needed to get done. But I just want everybody to understand we're doing a great job. The district is doing a great job. Mrs. Gaines is doing a great job. The board is listening and hearing what's going on. We've got a lot of difficult situations to address, and we're going to continue to address them. And our students will be fine. Some of them need to be a little bit more involved, I'd like all of our students to be involved every day, like my students have been. I have, in one class, I have 36 students, in another class, I have 33. I'm very fortunate that almost all of them attend every one of my Zoom meetings. I need that to happen in every class, whether it's a third grade class or a seventh or eighth grade math class or high school calculus class. I just need the students to attend. They need to attend their meetings. They need to approach the work that they have, and they need to treat every day, including Fridays, as if it were a school day. And if we all do that, we'll get through this with time. So, sorry to lecture, that's what I do. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
You're welcome. We don't have a CS report, CS? No, CS?
No.
Okay. Associate Superintendent, Sarkis?
You've got to be able
Oh, sorry, CBO.
Good evening, thank you. I'll be brief this evening, but I have I think a really strong point of great news. We have had California Highway Patrol on site at the transportation yard for the first half of this week. And as of today, I can report that Transportation Department has an A+ rating with CHP, which is excellent. There was not one single finding with a problem with any of our vehicles, even the ones that have been unused since COVID began, which is huge because there's always something with a bus that's parked for a long time that goes wrong or awry. So I really want to commend Scott and Reese, but also all of the bus drivers because they participate in that process, and Ashley for keeping things on track. There's a lot of paperwork that they review, not just the condition of the buses, but everything was in order, and that's great news. It's a huge, huge testament to quality and safety that goes into that program. Thanks.
Okay, Associate Superintendent, Ms. Hargis.
Good evening. Jim, I just want to let you know that the work of the teachers and the work of the support staff does not go unnoticed. We know, we're doing a great job, and we appreciate the job that the teachers are doing and that the support staff is doing. Our paraeducators have really, jumped in, especially at the elementaries where there are a few more of them, and they're holding those Zoom meetings and, working with students, along with those teachers. So, everybody's working hard. Our custodians are working hard to make sure everything's clean, our maintenance, getting everything ready at the school site. So, everybody certainly is working hard, and, here at the district, we're doing our best to support everybody. So, if there's ever anything, that you need, my door's always open, and, anybody can send me an email or a phone call, and I'll be there to help. Yes, we do appreciate all that you do. And that being said, we are excited that we're going to be able to bring some students back on campus for some math academies and some ELD academies. We're hoping that that's going to start about the 20th of September, but we do have to make sure that all of our safety protocols are in place for that as well. We've ordered some curriculum for the staff members that will be teaching those. And we have several staff members that are excited to be coming on campus and be teaching those. So that is great news. And administrators, teachers preparing those lists of students and getting ready to start contacting them as we can. So always a lot of work ahead, but I think as long as we keep kids as our focus, we can't go wrong. So.
Were any of the teachers that are signing up on the current waiver not to come to games?
I am not 100% sure. I know that a couple of those teachers had some questions about that. And really as far as the waiver goes, there are some that are medical, there are some that are students. There was a couple teachers that said, well, hey, how about my student coming? And so, we had to say, you know what, if your student's going to be on campus, they have to be within their grade level. So if you teach second grade, but your student is in fourth grade, your student could qualify for the fourth grade math academy versus the secondary class because we have to keep those cohorts very small. We can't mix those cohorts. You know, there's a lot of rules that we have to follow with those. So, you know, if there are teachers, you know, the head medical, and I can't really get into that because I don't really know why people have waivers. I mean, I know a few, but, you know, that's what I have said to a couple of people that have questioned as far as my waiver is only because I have children at home. So, and we certainly don't want to discourage them, but, you know, we want to be able to say, if somebody comes in and asks us, no, this is exactly how we did it, we followed the rules, you know, we kept everybody safe, we kept our numbers to 14, we had less than 2 teachers, you know, because we do want to make sure that everybody is safe, the students are safe, the staff is safe, our support staff is safe.
So,
It's an
so I guess I
after-school
can,
program.
okay, well, I guess I could ask, is it anywhere in the MOU that if you apply for the waiver not to work, that you lose eligibility for some things?
No, RTA's
Does that make
position, yeah, it does. RTA's position would be, I've not been asked directly about this, and I'm just, don't hold me to it, I'm just answering off the top of my head, but if somebody's applying for an after-school stipend position, they would not be part of a waiver process because they're, you know, looking to participate in an on-campus with student position. So it should be completely unrelated.
And on the posting, it did say on site. So that way, you know, when,
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time reconciling. I want to apply for a waiver not to come on site at all, but then if there's extra money, I want to come on site. That, I'm having a hard time reconciling that in my mind.
And I don't know off the top of my head, Mr. Tanksley, who has applied for those. It's not really a stipend, it's extra duty hours. We will be compensating the teachers for the actual hours that they spend providing the clinic, the math and ELD clinic, and also we're going to give them some planning time as well, because we know even though we're supplying the curriculum, they still have to plan what they want to do with the kids and during that time too. So it will be effective for the students. So I couldn't tell you at this point in time that they're still applying, who has applied for those positions, whether it's anyone who is out on a waiver or not.
We would be practicing under, you get 10 people apply, it would go by your hire date,
yes.
correct?
And is it 14 students, you said?
Uh-huh, yes.
And how many teachers are looking?
We can have up to 14 students and no more than 2 teachers.
For each campus?
No, for each classroom, so what we've done is we have, 2 positions, 2 math positions, kindergarten through 5th grade, actually through 8th grade, excuse me. I think we have 2 or 3 people at the high school that are willing to do it as well. But, so K-8, it is 2 per grade level. So, you know,
2 per grade.
I don't know that we're gonna fill all of that,
Mhm.
but, I do know that there's several people. that
2
like-
separate classrooms.
Right, like 2
with
kindergarten,
14.
2, yes.
Okay.
If we are talking, Dr. Robinson, I just want to clarify this. If we are talking, we have to, it's distinctly different, the after-school program, the 14 and 2, and what the MOU that Mr. Quellman referred to that he and I will be starting hopefully soon about bringing back, first and foremost, our students with special needs. In those cohorts, it is 16 people total. So for example, if I have a class where there's 8 students, and then I may have 5 or 6 paraeducators in that room and the teacher, that combination, as long as it does not exceed 16 people, is acceptable. With the after-school program, obviously our goal is to get the students in there because we're trying, this is learning loss funding. It's being funded by the amount of money that we're getting for learning loss. And we know that reading comprehension and math, I believe truly math is going to be where we're going to get up and down the state, across the nation, the hardest hit. So I would love to see this go on for the entire school year and even possibly blossom into some Saturday schools where it's not only just drill and kill and math or language arts, but also maybe a fun hour in there for them as well, where they do art or robotics, so that the kids and provide them with a snack and everything, so they would want to come to the school site once we're able to do that. So this is something we're considering for down the road.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Hargis. Superintendent's report, Ms. Gaines?
Okay, let's see what I've got here. Wanted to say that in the near future, our website is gonna have a new look to it. We're very excited about that. Saw a couple samples today, and we're hoping it'll be, first and foremost, more user-friendly for our parents and the community. And it'll be more colorful, and it's just, I think it's a great time for us to get a new website. So we're looking forward to that. I also wanted to let everybody know that the CTEIG grant that we had a little issue with last year at the high school was submitted today. It's officially due tomorrow. And so the high school administrative team, Mrs. Akinini and Mr. Shevlin, are informed me today that it has been submitted. So we're excited to have that done. Also wanted to share that Dr. Mary Barlow selected 19 districts out of 47 to be part of cohort 1 for KIDS, and KIDS stands for Kern Integrated Data System, and it has a lot to do with examining data with kindergarten students and learning from that data. And I just got the email, so I'm not sure what all is involved there. I was very happy that Southern Kern and Muroc and Tehachapi, we were all 3 invited to be in that first cohort. So that's very exciting. Also wanted to let you know that I have an update today from the health department. And of course, just as we're looking really good, they changed the rules of the game on us. Prior, we were told that once Kern County goes below the 8 mark in percent positivity and also in case rates, and we stay there for 2 weeks, 14 days, we would be able to resume school. I want to tell you that we're below 8 in both of those categories. Case rates, we are at 6.7 today, and percent positivity, we are down to 7.1. The health department still has us as purple, but we could, and I say could, I'm not saying we will, I'm saying could, we could be off of the purple list as early as next week, at which time we will, excuse me, they changed the rules of the game. At one time, we just need to be on the red list for 14 days. Now they've added an additional 14 days. So we would have to be on the red list for a total of 28 days. Once that happens, then the Board of Trustees could resume to traditional school if you wanted. So it is looking, Southern Kern County, I always say Southern Kern County is doing much better. They just would like to see the county as a whole testing more people. And that's what's keeping us in the purple. The purple's the bad area. That's what's keeping us there. But I thought all in all, that was some good news for today. So I too was gonna congratulate the Ashley and the transportation department. That was great news to hear that not one ding in the entire inspection. So anytime we can get news like that, we're very, very excited about it. So that's it for me this evening.
Board communications, Mr. Contreras?
Give all the teachers a attaboy for us. They have been doing a great job with a very frustrating system. So thank you. And tech guys, yeah, keep it up. You guys have been doing a great job keeping all our kids hooked up. I get to hear a lot from my public since I'm right here in town, and let me tell you, they are all very frustrated. And especially a lot of the out west families that have very, very spotty internet. Like where me and Yolanda are at, there's days that you may get internet, you may not. Sometimes you can't even get cell signal right there. So we've just got to do what we got to do. I mean, that's the only thing we can continue to do, and hopefully our numbers keep coming down like they have been, and we'll get to get started with getting some kids on campus, and hopefully before the year's up, maybe we can get everybody on campus. I think that would be the best goal that I can think of, but we'll have to see. That's it. Thank you.
Dr. Abington?
And thank you everyone for the hard work that you've been putting in. From the first week of school, there were a lot of fearful things that I was hearing out there, not within the district, but from parents and other people. And I have to say that what I've been hearing now is such a response to the good teaching that's going on from the community. So I thank you, teachers, for what you're doing. And I just want kids to come back to school.
Mr. Tansky?
Yeah, I want to echo to Ashley and team, great job transportation. Jim, as always, thanks for your wisdom. Mrs. Hargis, your inputs, we love them. It always generates plenty of a discussion for us. So keep those little nuggets coming. And Mrs. Sanchez, for the general public, Mrs. Sanchez has got us on the road to identifying what data that we're going to request for us to make our decisions going forward. Okay, there's going to be certain data points, decision points, and gates as we go forward. We're forming that list of data that we're going to need to make those decision points. And then based on the 24 or the 14 days plus 14 days, the gates of where we go. We'll probably stick on the grading periods as we go. Grades will be a factor. Attendance will be a factor. There will be plenty of factors. Our capabilities of school sites to decontamination or safety, that will be a factor. You know, how long it takes, what we could do. I guess the MOU getting cleared will be a factor. Jim, you think we've got one almost out of the way? We're going to jump into the sped one, and then the big whammy's coming. Best guess, the big whammy, how long?
Well, the sped one's gonna be a challenge,
Okay.
because not only does it affect the special education teachers, it affects the other gen ed teachers who are on the campus.
Excuse me.
So that's gonna be an issue. But when you say the big whammy, yeah,
Yes, us coming back.
clarify for me.
Us coming back, whether it is ABAB, it's every day, us coming, bringing students back on campus, full up.
The board has already approved a modified schedule of ABAB.
Yes.
And our team understands that if the state and the county allows for students to return to school, that would be the accepted model. And there's many items within the current MOU, even though the MOU, the tentative agreement on the MOU is focused on distance learning, there's a lot of provisions within that would apply to a return of students to the campus in a hybrid model. So it's not like we're starting from ground zero.
Okay, so as we build these,
Yeah.
some of them are accepted practices as we go forward.
And what I've appreciated with Mrs. Gaines is that even though we haven't had a full-on approved agreement, we've both followed the portions we've agreed to. Do you know what I mean by that? I've communicated that to the teachers when they've asked me questions. I've said, well, here's how we're gonna do things, because we've pretty much, even though we haven't voted on the MOU, we've agreed to this part of the MOU, so we're gonna follow those guidelines, and the district has done the same thing, and I appreciate that, because that's the only way we get through these things, is with that kind of collaboration. So I don't think it's an overwhelming mountain that we can't cross, but yeah, it's gonna take some reasonable advance notice. We'll all see the writing on the wall, we'll know when all of this gets into place. But keep in mind, all of the staff within Southern Kern are closely connected with all of the staff in surrounding districts. So while I have no problem being a leader in the quality of education in our area, there are some questions as to why Southern Kern is going forth in a certain path when no other district in our area is going down another path. If that's the direction, then there would be some questions and some debate and some negotiations that would go over that. So can't put a timeline on it, but I don't see it being insurmountable.
Okay.
But it comes down to safety. We want to educate our students, but not at a cost of serious illness. And that's, when I was talking about texting with my friend back in Michigan, my question to him was, what does your district do when a student it tests positive, or when a student shows COVID-like symptoms or tests positive? What are the protocols there? Because as soon as we have to take a group of students out of school, and as soon as we have to take a teacher or two out of school, then all education breaks down. So we have to look at it from that standpoint. What is going to be the safety, and how do we make sure the best level of education can continue within whatever environment we choose?
Gotcha. I just wanted to hear your office answer.
And I appreciate that. Somebody said wisdom from Mr. Quellman, and they overstepped their bounds. It's not necessarily wisdom, it's just been around a long time.
All right, yeah, I think I
I just want to say, I think if we're all working together to achieve a goal, then I think that continue doing that, we'll get to where we need to get. So with that, we have consent items A through G.
I make a motion to accept the item.
Second by,
Thanks.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nothing. Okay, business, rescind the board action 016 of August 5th, 2020. Approval of the 45-day budget revision. Mr. Hart.
We have to rescind it.
Okay. Well,
First, we have to rescind.
I'll make a motion that we rescind the original. Then we'll go to part
Terry? Second by
Second.
Dr. Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. New revised 45-day budget revision. All right.
revision?
The first slide speaks to,
Okay.
first slide does speak to, sorry. Thanks. Number of bullet points, and I believe you have a copy of the PowerPoint with you. I won't read you all of them, but just to hit a couple of significant highlights on each one. The second point, district's adopted budget based on the governor's May revision, reflected one set of data, and the 45-day revision needed to reflect a significant change in projected revenue based on the negotiations between the legislature and the governor. And that revision at the state level significantly increased our budget by over $2 million, by about almost $2.4 million. And I'll show that in a later slide. Point number 3, multi-year projection and the 2-year cash flow present the board with some really important points to remember as you move forward. So while this budget looks particularly positive, we need to still move forward cautiously, right? So there are points where revenues have been included in this budget that make our budget look strong and healthy, and that's exciting news, and we hope that it comes to fruition. If certain funds don't come through from the federal level, there's potential for mid-year takebacks. So we want to be cautious. So we are monitoring all of those things. We're planning how to spend these funds in a good fortune that we get to keep them. Should we have to give them back, we don't want to spend them too early. And so it's a balancing act to make sure we spend the dollars on today's kids to meet their needs, but also to make sure that we don't overspend and then put ourselves in a negative situation again in the near future. We've talked about this before. The state has balanced their budget on the assumption that school districts can live through another series of deferrals. Deferrals will begin for us starting in February and continue each month through the end of the fiscal year. That's not a change in the story. That's 100% in line with what we've been talking about. Those deferrals will be paid starting in July of 2021, to the district, and they'll be paid essentially in reverse order from where they were held. So June's money will come in July, May's money will come in August, so forth that way. That will put a significant strain on the district, and the district will have to go into the county pool for a tax revenue anticipation note. I do not consider that a bad thing. It's a normal operating cost, but it does mean that we have to borrow money in order to maintain cash flow, to pay our bills, to keep the lights on, to keep people paid. And so we will be monitoring that, and that amount is projected at about $5 million. Our unaudited actuals must be presented each year. These are the numbers that we will take now and transfer to our auditor for her review and for firm's review. The LCFF revenue for the year that we just finished for 1920 increased by $1.4 million over the previous year. State revenue declined, largely due to Prop 30 energy efficiency grant funds that were drawn down in the prior year that we continued to spend, but there were no more to draw down. We had already received in their funding. Expenses were reduced by just under $6.1 million. That was a known intentional decision of the district. We held to it, and the ending fund balance reaped the benefit of that commitment to righting the ship. Like I said, there are certain strains that will come forward along with what we've said. The major constraint that we have, or the major threat to our stability that we have to monitor, is what will be the lingering impact of COVID-19 and what it will do to the economy. We'll will this be a V recession or a U recession or an L recession, and how fast will we bounce back? All of those things will matter. And hopefully it'll be a faster recovery rather than a longer recovery, so that the impact will simply be a cash flow impact that we're expecting for this year and not a long-term impact. On this slide, significant, I think, point to point out is this is just simply confirming the power of the reductions that were made. If you look at the first three lines, certificated salaries, classified salaries, and combined benefits for the two categories, there are significant reductions in each of those categories. The district committed to them in January previous year, held to it, and that has allowed us to build our fund balance and return to a positive certification. Came to fruition, it was February of the previous year, district made those commitments. This shows the level of spending by category in the district. You can see the district has salary and benefits expenses is about 83% of the total budget. Significant shift from being over 90% in the prior year. The county is particularly interested in making sure that that's recognized as a positive shift in the district and the fiscal health and stability of the district. And they strongly recommend that the district remain committed to having a maximum salary and benefits rate of between 80 and 85% per year moving forward. So we are there and monitoring that. Fund balances in the district are looking significant. We were at negative 3.4 million at the end of 18-19, and ending balance for 19-20 in the unrestricted general fund was $260,000. And that does not include the ending balance in the restricted side of the equation, but that puts us for the year with an ending fund balance when we combine the two of $3.6 million, which is significantly ahead of where we had expected to be at this time, and allowed us to pay down the debt to the county office. Cash flow projections for the year show the district able to have a positive balance at the end of the year, but needing to have cash infusion during the course of the year because of what is coming as an intentional decision at the state level for our funding sources. So we will need to borrow about $5 million is the current projection out of the county tax revenue anticipation pool. It is a pooled structure, which is good for us. It allows us to take advantage of the scale at the county level for borrowing money and receive a better rate that way for interest costs. And just to reiterate, the deferred revenue from the state side does not mean a cut to the district, but it means that our money doesn't come in until the following fiscal year. So we're not having to make expense side reductions in our budget because of that the state budget decision, but we are having to make sure that we can stay afloat until we do have this cash receipts beginning in July of 2021.
Do deferrals ever turn into cuts?
They can. Deferrals were really used first and most strongly in the last state recession, or global recession actually, but in California they were used as a powerful tool for the first time in 2008 and beyond. So those did not result in reductions directly per se. They were always paid. Sometimes the pay dates were moved and manipulated, and so we had to make sure we were on top of those and maintain current monthly predictions of when our cash receipts would come in. But there is always that possibility. The current threats that I was talking about when I first started talking tonight of mid-year reductions are not projections because of the deferrals exactly. They are projections because of certain assumptions made on federal revenues, for example, to come in that haven't materialized yet, but we're still hopeful that something can be brokered there. If there are any other questions, sorry, I'm happy to answer any other questions. Otherwise, that's the bulk of our thing. The only other piece that I would draw your attention to, one significant change, and I think they deserve, a pat on the back for it because of the hard work that they did during the spring. I said there was going to be $350,000 ending fund balance in Fund 13, which is nutrition services, and that's actually $463,000. There was more federal revenue coming in than originally projected from the end of the year, so that's great news.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the division.
Second by Dr. Robinson. All in favor? Aye. Review and approve the unaudited actuals.
And I apologize, I talked right over the two items when I was moving through the presentation. I should have paused after the first slide. But the action that's being asked here is to accept the changes to essentially ending fund balance projections resulting from 45-day budget revision, as well as to some revisions to posted expenditures and revenues in the current year that have been made since June 30th.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions on it? I'll make a motion that we accept it.
What was the ending balance?
The ending balance, sorry. It's in the full budget package. This time on page 47. Sorry.
Page 47?
I'm sorry, not on page 47, on page, sorry, Sally.
Sorry.
I was going to try and pull it up here so you can see it here as well.
Mr. Barth, if you can find the ending fund balance for 2021, 21, 22, I think that would be, the board would be very interested to see the projected, even though I realize it's still a ways out, but it is something to be optimistic about.
Yes. Sorry, I thought it was in the slide projection. The original projection for the end of this fiscal year in the general fund was about $700,000.
What page is that on?
And so I'm, we look at fund equity on page 49, sorry. This is the bottom of that small chart. So there, you can see the presentation of, sorry, 687,000 in restricted revenue for 1920. And then if we shift back one page, no, not that one page.
Mr. Barth, if you look on page 42 for the budget revision, it projects 2021, 21, 22, and 22, 23.
Thank you.
And you can see the reserve percentage board members. You will see that if we are able to maintain and the federal government comes in and does what we've been told they should be doing, we are on an uphill climb in increasing our federal, our reserve percentage over the next 3 years, including this year.
Ms. Gaines, we need to do the actuals first and make motion on it, and then we can look at this.
Yeah, I just was helping him find the page.
Correct. So, and I apologize, I was looking at the audited actuals, and if we move back one item to the 45-day budget revision. Thank you, Mrs. Gaines. You can see the actual budget allocation projection for the multi-year. And we were at 791,000 projected beginning balance, moving through 2020, moving into 2021. And that has stayed fairly close to where we were, which is the ending balance for this current year. And that does bump up significantly and projects now over 10% ending fund balance for the end of this fiscal year. So just to be clear, because that sometimes does cause confusion, we're not at 10% yet. We're moving there for this year. And so that is a significant increase over about 6% that we were looking at previously. And you can see as we move forward from there, it's 20%, 27%. So between now and the third year of our multi-year projection, what we'll need to do is have lots of conversations about what do restorations look like, what does actual revenue coming in look like, as well as what does the district have for one-time expense needs coming along. Because these ending fund balance amounts are based on ongoing money, right? But they contribute to one-time money when they sit in the ending fund balance. And so ending fund balance numbers are excellent resources for capital expenditures on facilities, for example, that are more or less one-time expenditures, or bus replacement plans, computer technology replacement plans, and ways of setting aside money to make sure that we can handle those expenses when they come up and give spikes to the budget.
Our ending balance for last year came up to 667, 433.11.
Yes.
That's our general fund.
Any questions?
I need a motion.
Okay, you did a motion, Karen, second by Mr. Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, one absent. Approval of resolution 20-21-02, the game permit, Mr. Hart.
In 1979, the Board of the State of California passed a resolution requesting that government agencies establish an amount of allowable increase from one year to the next. is where we are for that. In this year, the district presents on page 171 the GAN form showing the 1920 fiscal year calculations and the next 2020-2021 calculations. And this is asking the board to approve the projected GAN limits of spending for both the year just ending and for the upcoming budgetary year projection. And by the end of the fiscal year, if suddenly is needed to make an adjustment to the 2021 GAN limit, the board would be asked to make a resolution this same time next year to modify that.
Any questions? I hear a motion,
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution.
second by,
Excellent.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 100%. Approve resolution 19-20-13 educational protection account. Expenditure report. Mr. Hart.
The education protection account, was created with the, as a course of action to write the state's budget and to continue to fund state education during the last fiscal recession in 2000, after 2008. We continue as a requirement of those additional tax levies, have to report annually on how we spend that money, commit to spending the money as the voters approve, and to show in a transparent way how we actually have spent those monies. And so on page 177, you can see there is a revenue presentation as well as an expenditure presentation indicating that the monies were spent directly on instruction. And so they are used to fund teacher salaries and benefits across the district. And that has been the district's pattern since the receipts started coming in.
Well, do I hear a motion to approve the resolution 1920-13?
Yeah,
You got a question?
no. Go ahead and make that motion.
Motion by Gutierrez, second by,
Excellent.
all in favor?
Aye.
Approve resolution 2021-04 for authorization to participate in the lower emissions school bus program grant. Mr. Hart.
Money, for example, needed between the grant award paid and the price of the new bus, we can back out and not be penalized in any way moving forward.
Are they matching?
This one is potentially about almost 100% of the grant. There is no strict matching percentages with this one. Some of the others, there are matching requirements. Let me get to those.
We've gotten 6 brand new buses since we've been going after the low emission bus grants, where we get the new bus, we have to pay for it upfront. And then we have to turn one of our old buses in, and then they refund us the money.
And that is model year.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I think we've gotten 6 of them so far. So, yeah, couple. I'll make a motion that we accept.
How many buses do we have?
We have more than 9, and I apologize, I can't quote you the exact number, but we have 9 bus runs, and then we have a number of backup buses so that if there are field trips that need to happen or sporting events, or if a bus is down, for example, we have the ability to continue providing the daily 9 runs in the morning and the afternoon. But we have,
Those are full-size buses.
we have, full-size buses, and then we have 2 smaller buses that currently function for special education services because they have wheelchair access.
Okay, Jackie, we have to remember, our full-size buses now are smaller than the full-size buses we had before.
Correct.
Our old full-size buses were 92 people,
At one point, and then it
Yeah,
dropped to
and
80.
then now these are,
We have some that are in the 70s.
right, and it all had to do with the seatbelt ability. It used to be 3 and 3 down the road, and now it's actually 3 and 2, and a lot of them are only 2 and 2, if I remember right. So they take up more space, and then they space them out more. So you almost need
McDonald's.
3 buses to replace 2 buses. Yeah, I mean, I shop buses. But I still
Thank you for
make motions.
doing
The motion by Gutierrez, do I hear a second?
Thanks, Lee.
All in favor?
that.
Learning, continuing, and attendance plan is being.
If you will look in your board packet for Wednesday, the 23rd, I believe it is, you are going to see our LEA, our copy of the learning continuity and attendance plan. You're probably thinking this template reminds me a lot of the COVID-19 report. The questions are in green and the answers are in white. This is a lot more extensive than the COVID-19 report is. There are actually 25 different questions that had to be addressed. And give you a little bit of background about this. I'm not going to go over every question with you. I do want you to know that this is due to Kern County by September 30th. Today is the 16th, so I would say that it's 95% done, and I've read it once, but I like to go through it again and again. There is one question, number 24, that I'm not real, I think we could do a better job with the answer on 24, but they are, as you get toward the end, it's asking you how you're going to primarily spend $6.9 million on your low socioeconomic students, your English learners, and your foster youth. What I do want you to know that this report is a product of Senate Bill 98. It is requested this year, required from the local educational agencies in lieu of the LCAP. We will be doing an LCAP later on this year, but this is sort of our intervention plan document that focuses us on what we are going to do to accommodate for learning loss. If things go well, and I always say if things go well, we should be receiving $3.1 million to address learning loss. And that money has to be spent by December 30th. It does not look like, initially, we were hoping the governor and the federal government would extend that deadline to, there was speculation that it would be extended into September 2021. But we have been advised that we must spend our money wisely as if it would, because there's a good chance it won't be extended. And so we have until December 30th, not December 31st, December 30th, which is another oddity, to spend. And our projected amount is approximately $3.1 million. So there is the areas that this money can be spent is pretty black and white, but we are in the process in cabinet of looking extensively at what are the means of using this funds, this one-time money. So we probably will not be employing additional people because that's not a good thing to do with one-time funds. We really want to address what we need in Southern Current to meet the needs of the students, especially when it comes to accommodating them and mitigating the learning loss that they suffered last spring and continue to suffer today. So you can just look over the report, basically giving, starts out with just the general, this is the up-to-date demographics, and you can see that our special ed population is increased. We're now up to 16.28%. Our special ed population is increasing. Our socioeconomically is 75.47. So when you get a chance to look over that, and then it talks about what we've done in the past since last March, the end of March, to address the COVID-19, the impact that it's had on the community in Southern Kern. You know, we were very, even though we were shocked that we were not going to be able to resume school after spring break, no one really knew at that time, what is this COVID and how long is it going to be with us? So, but to the credit of the teachers and the classified staff, they jumped in and we were able to, I'm still very pleased every time I hear that our small district of Southern Kern was one of 2 out of 47 who did all 4 of the governor's mandates, including child supervision over at West Park. For 11 weeks, we did that. So this sort of starts you on that journey and maps you through where we are from end of March up through today and what we're doing to meet the needs of the kids and the community and the role. This document talks a lot about the stakeholders and what the stakeholders, the role they played in this, the role that Mr. Quellman and RTA and Gary and CSEA and Cabinet, and to Gary's credit, we all met one day and he was taking notes and he went back and he started a Google Doc, and we just sort of all went in there and kept feeding into this Google Doc, allowing people to give their input, teachers and custodians. I met with all the custodial leads and sort of got their take on how they envisioned us opening in August. So this talks about all the surveys that was sent out to the parents and the staff, and it's just sort of a guide on what we've done, what we're still doing, and how we plan to support these kids when we return, the plans that you all considered when you voted on July 15th to open in a blended model, only to have that taken from us 6 days later. And so this is all, hopefully it's good reading for you. And it is still a draft. If you see anything that you think, oh, I see a typo, Yolanda, I'm counting on you. And to please let me know, because I still have till the 30th to submit my final thing. But yeah, so it's done. But I think we could elaborate a little bit more on a couple of the questions in the back when it's asking us for specificity on how we're going to spend that $6-something million on our, and this is not the learning loss money I'm talking about. This is on our from our LCFF money, from our supplemental concentration grant money and our base grant. What are we going to do to meet the needs of our unduplicated students? And when we talk about our unduplicated students, we're talking about our low socioeconomic students, our foster children, and our English learners. And so it's just a matter of going through and remembering everything we've done and documenting it in this document. But yeah, pretty pleased, and want to say again to my cabinet members, thank you. They don't want to come into my office anymore, because when they do, Leanne walked in today and I said, this question 25 is like, So she said something and I said, sit down. Sit down right there. So when they come in, I'm going to put them to work, and it goes for Jonathan and Cheryl and Noemi Dan, they all worked very hard to give me input, and so I'm pretty pleased. But, you know, I want to make sure it's a little bit tidier before submission on the 30th. But do you have any questions about it?
No, not now, so I read through it, I guess.
Yeah, read it. I know I'm going to hear from you, Yolanda. It's okay.
Okay, when you talk about questions, though, they're not numbered on here, so you, like you said, question 25, how would I know?
Oh, 25 is the last one.
Oh, is that what?
It's the very last one, and we have to open the public hearing, so if there's any comments for this.
Let's go ahead and recess for the public hearing, and then we can discuss whatever you wish.
Would be at 8:14.
I got a motion. Any second?
Thanks, Lee.
Second.
Okay, Terrace, Tansy, all in favor?
All right.
And now we're recess.
Now we're in recess.
Okay, now you can discuss all that. You wanted to discuss all
Oh,
that.
I was just, you're numbering the questions, I just didn't know what answers go to what questions.
It's, the questions, I didn't want to number them because they don't have them numbered,
Right,
Yolanda, but 25 is the last question, so look for the last green bar, and that's the question that I will be, anybody that comes in my office the next couple of days will be talking about question 25, and just, although it's pretty, Leanne was telling me today, I think it's pretty thorough, because the sample one they sent us was like 20, 21 pages, and we're past that. But I said, no, that wasn't really my goal, but I want it to be accurate and thorough and tell our story to the best of our ability, so, yeah.
And I did think of something else to put in there.
Oh, you did?
Yes, something that we had talked about at cabinet yesterday was, a stipend for, an employee to possibly be like, be the homeless liaison. Somebody that maybe works fewer hours and might have really some time to get out and visit with the foster students and the homeless families. That was something that I wanted to do more of, but I, just,
it's a great idea.
And how do you visit with homeless people? Because
generally, here in Roseman, we do have a percentage of students that are considered homeless, but they're not necessarily living on the street. They're doubled up with family members. So that's, so that's one of the definitions, for homeless. They have no fixed, home for themselves.
So when they double up, that makes them homeless. They're considered homeless.
Right. You can take a full release on that property, somebody else does, and you're just. Yeah. Kind of like a long-term visitor.
And that's a great idea, I think, we better reach.
We'll add
Yeah,
that,
and that was
we'll add
something
that tomorrow.
that we talked about yesterday.
kind of a liaison or?
Currently, I serve as the county liaison for foster youth and homeless, so, if there's court documents that come for our foster youth, as far as, educational rights and those kinds of things, everything comes to me, and then I disperse that out to school sites, or, I'm sure that special education has those.
Talking about the visiting people.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't have that opportunity to really go out and visit very often, but,
It would be a great thing to have. somebody in that
definitely-
position.
Yes, I definitely, and that's just something that, is on my heart that more for those students, we do have some Title I funds that we can use for that. We definitely have some learning loss funds that we can use.
So if we were to, say, extend somebody's hours for doing that position, that maybe had a part-time job and give them some extra hours. But how would that look as far as the budget? Would that be a year-to-year thing we have to consider, or once we hire them, then
We
it's
were
an
looking,
ongoing expense, what?
yeah, we were looking at it as more of a stipend position rather than like not like a full 8-hour position. Where somebody could do that, a couple hours a day.
And that has to be a certificated person. It can be classified.
Could be classified.
Any more discussion? And I will make a motion that we go back to our regular meeting.
Today's regular session at 8:19. Second by
Second.
Dr. Robinson, all in favor? Aye. One absent. Approve the special board meeting for Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020 at 9 a.m. to approve the learning community and attendance plan due by 9/30/2020. Ms.
I
Gaines,
motion that we
Ms.
approve it.
Gaines,
Yes, unfortunately, we cannot have the public hearing, and the board of public hearing has to be first, and then the board approval of the plan at a later date. And so we called for the special meeting on the 23rd, primarily for you to approve the plan that you have in your packet already this evening.
okay, so do I hear a motion?
So I motion that we approve the special board meeting.
Okay, second by,
Go ahead, Catherine.
Nancy, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi, and I'll make a quick footnote. In that special meeting, there will also be some paperwork for our Ceramark project over at Roswell Elementary. And with that, we actually met last week? Yeah. We met last week with the project manager and ironed out some of the budgetary information that we needed to take care of with buildings. And we will be approving that revision that we just did next week.
So that was, motion by Dr. Robinson, second by Cassidy, all in favor, we can four, one absent.
Thank you.
Okay, second review and reading and approval of the board policy with Gaines.
Yeah, this is the second reading, and asking you to approve the board policies below. If you have any question, option one for nutrition is that basically it was chosen that the appeals would go to a compliance coordinator and not to the board of trustees. And the other, as I mentioned at our last board meeting, the other board policy that I am concerned about is the physical education one, especially for my elementary schools. At a near date sometime, we need to seriously consider placing physical education teachers back at the elementary schools. The children should be receiving high level physical education standards that should be rigorous and with physical fitness, et cetera, and so many instructional minutes a week. I'm not saying they're not getting those now, but the board policy very clearly mandates and outlines what we should be doing for our elementary students all the way up to and including high school.
I agree with that, except for there are hungry students on campus at this time, so it would be kind of redundant to hire.
No, not right now,
No, I know.
Mr.
It would
Gutierrez, but
have to be for next year.
yes,
Yeah.
at some time, it's something that we cannot just adopt the board policy and not follow it.
Right.
So that's something when funds permit, that would be the next two people that I would want to put in place is the physical education teachers of the elementary.
So if we go back to a blended model in school, where would we fit physical education in that ABAB model?
Well, anytime you have a physical education teacher at the elementary, the schedule is just like if you had anything else in that schedule, just like you have an ELD block. The schedule for the PE teacher is written into that schedule. He may see, because of the instructional minutes for elementary PE, he may see a grade level twice a week. So the creator of the master schedule for that school would have to make it so that maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time, the PE teacher saw first grade. Or maybe, and usually what happens when the PE teacher has the students on campus, outdoors, usually rarely do you see a gym in an elementary school, then the elementary teachers then would be on a prep period, doing, planning and prepping and et cetera. So that it would have to be created. It's not just willy-nilly. It's actually a class in the master schedule, just like you would
Well,
ELD
my
block or
my
anything.
question is this, because they're only going to be at school half or less of the time, then we can't give a whole PE period to a half-time school. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think you're way ahead of yourself on that. Because if until we get all the kids at school about PE teachers, that's gonna be a question. And
Well,
that
I
be
would
next
really
year.
like to see all the kids in school next semester. You
Don't
know.
see that happening right now. I mean, it'd be great, but I don't see it.
That's what I want.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the policies as written.
Second by
Second.
Dr. Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Curriculum and instruction. Williams settlement.
All right, in your packet, you'll find, statements from all of the school site, principals stating that they have sufficient materials. And that is what the Williams complaint is all about. It just, we have to have sufficient materials, we have to have sufficient, teachers for our ELD, our English learner students. We can't, how many vacancies? So in following that, we have our, site administrators sign that statement that says, yes, they have sufficient materials. Normally our hearing is a little bit later, but we didn't have a board meeting until October, and it has to be by a certain time, it has to be by the 8th week of school, so that's why we're having.
I'll make a motion that we recess for the public hearing.
We got that 8:27. Right here. Second by.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anderson. We are now in public hearing. Any comment?
All the kids now have tablets and computers?
Do all of the kids now have them? Was that your question, Mr. Gutierrez? Yes, all of the K through 12 students have, and we are now purchasing for the TK and the special ed preschool. All students in Southern Kern are going to have. All means all. So we're very excited about that.
I was gonna say, the TK kids could probably work up better than I can.
No, it was actually, to be honest with you, it was actually the teacher who said, and a parent, I had a wonderful email from a parent asking, is there any way that the TK students could also get the iPad? And then when we decided as a cabinet, we would purchase for TK, we also realized we've got our special ed preschool out there that includes, they are inclusive in it. Everything is all means all. So, yeah, there was only, I think the TK was only 44 or something like that, 42, 44. So it wasn't a huge expense for us, but it's exciting to say that, all students in Southern Kern, we are now a one-to-one device. So, yeah, and hopefully we'll get even a little bit better.
How many students in preschool, special ed preschool?
Special ed preschool, I believe there's 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone's got iPads or laptops.
Yeah, I believe the order has been placed, it doesn't take them that long to, they'll have to do some work on them, what the IT department will when they get here. But, yeah, we're very excited about it. Am I right, Sean?
Correct.
Thank you.
That's true no matter the learning environment. All students have equitable access.
I'll make a motion that we go back to our regular meeting.
And that's at 8:30.
Second.
Robinson, all in favor? Aye. Approve resolution 2029-03, division and structural materials for 2021 with Argus.
And that is, it's a resolution that says that we are going to ensure that all of our students have the sufficient materials and that we, have everything according to what is needed, so. And we do.
Is there a motion to accept the resolution?
Thanks. I didn't want to be the first one that does all of it.
Second by
B.
Sarah, all in favor? Personnel item, James.
This is just our personnel item list for this board meeting. Pretty much nothing really new here. I do have one employee that you'll notice that the what we had occurring was there was some classes had more than the contractual limit, some classes had less. And so what happened with this one employee, where there was a buyout initially, when the class sizes were balanced, it's just a matter of moving kids to balance the numbers in from one period to the other. They found that there was no longer a need to buy the 1/7 or the 1/6 from that teacher. So everything else is pretty much just is what it is.
It's good to see that the workability coordinator is on the agenda. He did special ed.
And that's not a new position either.
Right, no, I know, it's just great to see that it's on the working towards getting our special ed students back in school. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve personnel items as printed.
Second by Dr. Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Shirley? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion that we get adjourned.
Derek, second by
Thanks, Lou.
Nancy. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. One absent. At 8:33.